Welcome back to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm Joey Dwyer here on the field at Jordan-Hare Stadium with some last-minute thoughts ahead of Vanderbilt's matchup with Auburn. Vanderbilt's still a 7.5-point underdog in this one. Feels like a lot of the country is counting it out, and in some ways they have valid reasons to think that Vanderbilt's never won here, and a win today would be a history-making win for them, and oftentimes that's not something that's probable. Today, Vanderbilt, again, 7.5-point underdog, coming into one of the SEC's cathedrals. You see the Bo Jackson number retired. You see all the conference championships noted. Vanderbilt doesn't have history like that, and it doesn't have a venue like this. This is one of the SEC's best venues and one of its toughest places to win, even when Auburn's down like it seems to be this year. And Auburn, I think, is still a challenge for Vanderbilt. It's got the SEC's leading rusher, the SEC's best running back. I think it has a defense that is capable of doing some things against Vanderbilt. It's got better athletes at some positions, so it's not going to be any game that you're thinking Vanderbilt's going to come in and have an easy time with, although Diego Pavia is 2-0 here against Hugh Freeze. That's a big storyline. Hugh Freeze has never really been able to solve what Tim Beck and Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill have kind of put together, and a lot of the SEC hasn't been able to. I think Auburn does have an advantage by seeing it a few times, but also it hasn't been able to stop it. Diego Pavia came in here and stunned Auburn last year for a game that really transformed Vanderbilt's program. If Clark Lee hadn't seen that game and hadn't planned that trip to Las Cruces for his staff and then seen the flaws in his staff and made the changes with that New Mexico State staff, Vanderbilt isn't in the position it's in with a 5-3 record right now. So you look at this place as a place that, even if Vanderbilt doesn't win today and alter some history in that way, has altered the course of this program. And I think it's just such a huge thing to look back at that game last winter and think about, man, Vanderbilt's on a bye week, but that was the most impactful week of its season, right? Diego Pavia put on a show here, and Eli Stowers really had his coming out party here a year ago. Let's see if they can do it again. I think Auburn is going to try to force Vanderbilt into some turnovers. I think it's going to be ready for what Vanderbilt's going to have to show out today. I think the playbook is not going to be as fresh as it is against some other teams. Vanderbilt's going to have to do some things just based off talent today, and I think it can. I mean, Vanderbilt is a team that's done that at times this year. Like Kentucky, Diego Pavia has made some magician plays throughout the year. He's done it in just about every game. Eli Stowers, I think, is a guy who's capable of playing for just about any SEC school. He's one of the top-ranked NFL draft prospects at tight end for the year. So it really comes back to that New Mexico State storyline for me today. And it wasn't just that New Mexico State came in here and beat them on a fluke, or not that Diego Pavia did that against Liberty the year before when Hugh Freeze was there, but it was a definitive New Mexico State win this year. And I think Vanderbilt's got a path to doing that today if it plays clean, turnover-free football, if it's sound fundamentally, if it doesn't kind of get rattled by the crowd, and when the momentum comes, if it's able to make the timely play. I think it's the same story throughout a lot of the year, but again, today is a day that Vanderbilt could rewrite some history. It's never won here. Like I said, one of the SEC's cathedrals. Not a lot of teams come in here and win every year. You look at the crowd outside. I've noticed this is a much different crowd than you see at a lot of SEC stadiums. It's not about the drinking or whatever. It's about football, and guys are ready out of Auburn to come in here and give that fan base a product that they're happy with. I think Hugh Freeze has a lot to prove still as Auburn's head coach, and I think today could be a game where it kind of defines the course of their season. They're 3-5 right now. I think a lot of things could change for them down the stretch. But also, if they lose today and Vanderbilt comes in here and beats them, I think that could really put them in some trouble. Maybe not Hugh Freeze's job security, but put Auburn's the rest of the season in trouble. It could halt a lot of the momentum that they've built on the recruiting trail. I just think Vanderbilt comes in here with a lot to prove still. I think a lot of the country doubts that they can come into a place like this and win. They went into Kentucky and won, but I do think you look at this and say, man, this is a game they're capable of winning. A lot of their guys have done it before. And one of the stories, though, can they contain Jarquez Hunter? That's a guy who is the SEC's leading rusher. He's the best running back in the league. Vanderbilt's really focused on that throughout the week. C.J. Taylor said he's a different type of challenge than they've seen. I think Vanderbilt's going to have to really avoid being in space with him. They're going to have to avoid letting him break off a big run after maybe missing a tackle or two. I don't think their tackling was super sound, especially in the first half last week against Texas. And that's something that's going to have to change. They're not going to get away with that this week. I will say, though, if they can contain Hunter even a little bit, I think Auburn's susceptible when you make them beat you via the air. I think there's going to be a lot of play-action game Vanderbilt's going to see today. And I think Hunter's really going to be a challenge in that aspect, too. Can Vanderbilt adjust to maybe having to account for him taking the handoff versus, Peyton Thorne pulling it and making a throw to an open receiver? Vanderbilt's going to have to be really sound defensively. Two guys to watch on the injury report today. Cedric Alexander, questionable. He's kind of had a limp for a couple weeks. I think he's been battling through some things. I don't know if I expect him to play. I think I probably do. Colby Taylor, another interesting one to watch, probably Vanderbilt's best or second best corner, and he is questionable for today's game as well. didn't play last week against Texas. Vanderbilt's going to be without Jalen Wood again. Obviously not going to help their run defense. I do think they're able to get some penetration today, though, and maybe halt Hunter at times. But at times with him, there's only so much you can do, right? It's like the Dalton Connect effect, where you can do everything, and sometimes the better player is just a better player. I think for Vanderbilt's sake, I'm a little afraid of that today, but Vanderbilt's also got some really good players on its roster. I think Diego Pavia is going to have some things to prove today that last year wasn't a gimmick. The game against Liberty wasn't a gimmick. I think Tim Beck is going to come in here with kind of an idea of how to attack Hugh Freeze's defense, although they have a different defensive coordinator, and that's something to note as well. Auburn is not exactly the same team that it was last year. I think it's improved, and I wouldn't expect them to come in here and lay a complete stinker. I think they're going to be ready for Vanderbilt, and I think they're going to be a team that is going to be challenging for them. It almost reminds me of Kentucky in a way. They went and beat Kentucky last weekend. I think they're tough. I think they're physical. And I think Vanderbilt is used to seeing teams like that. I don't think their passing game is the most explosive in the league, so maybe you're okay if you don't have Colby Taylor today, but you're going to have really sound tackling defensively. You're not going to be able to have Jarquez Hunter get in space consistently and expect to win those matchups. Vanderbilt is going to have to be really sound today. It's going to have to play turnover free, and it can't let the crowd get into this game today and take it over. So I think that is really possible here. Diego Pavia and New Mexico State last year really halted that crowd and halted a lot of their chances to get in the game. I think today, if Vanderbilt turns it over once or twice early or allows Auburn to get it going early, it could be a real thing that halts them. I look at it and say, man, Vanderbilt cannot turn it over early. They can't let Auburn go down and score on the opening drive. It's got to get this crowd quiet early, and it can't let it get into it consistently. You're looking at it, and you're also saying, man, no Jalen Wood, Cedric Alexander's banged up, Diego Pavia's banged up. I wonder how much they're able to use his leg sticks. I think that could be a big bailout card for them. Even when things get rough, can Diego Pavia be a guy who bails them out of a 3rd and long? I think they're going to have a few of those today. Like they did at Kentucky, Diego Pavia's going to have to make a magician play here or there. They're going to have to get out of a 3rd and 8 or a 3rd and 10 and extend an important drive today. That's what this game's going to come down to. Can Vanderbilt play a clean game? Can it hang physically up front? I think we've seen that they've proven to be able to do that. But also, can they not let the crowd get in? Can they play a mistake-free, turnover-free football game today? I think it's possible. But again, the margin for error, even against a down Auburn team, not huge in the stadium, still 7.5-point underdogs for a reason. But again, this would be a huge win for Vanderbilt. They haven't won here in a long time. They haven't beat Auburn since something along the lines of 2008. And they haven't gone to a bowl game since 2018. All 3 of those things could change today. Could be a monumental win for Vanderbilt, but not a season-defining one, which is crazy to say. Getting a win like that is not a win that completely changes your outlook. We know this is a good team. If they lose today, I don't think that means they're not a good team. It's just another challenge to get to where they want to go. And Vanderbilt has a clear idea. They want to go bowling, and they don't just want to go bowling. They want to go to a better bowl game. And they want to control their own destiny in college football playoff. I don't think that's really in play anymore, but I think they believe that they can still do it. And today is an interesting task to see if they can do that. Not the best team they play, but a tough environment, a physical team, and that's going to challenge them. From Jordan-Hare Stadium, I'm Joey Dwyer. We'll talk post-game. God bless and peace.